Welcome to ThriveGroups. We're so glad to have you with us today as we start a new series called Ship Shape, where we're talking about the ships that shape our lives, ships like leadership and stewardship and relationships. Well, before we get into that, though, we want to go over our ground rules. First, we want to encourage everyone to participate and no one to dominate. So share your stories, but leave room for others to share theirs as well. Also, we start on time, we end on time. So make sure that we stay respectful of the locations that we're in and end on time. With that, we're going to jump right into our opening question. Because it's Father's Day, share a memory of your dad or a father figure in your life. For me, one was the first time my dad decided to bring me backpacking. We went up on a mountain near where we lived, and he decided that it would be fun to do kind of what he considered primitive backpacking, where we wouldn't bring a tent, we would just bring a sheet of plastic, and we'd go up there and figure it out. And so we did. We went up there, we bent some trees down, we put the plastic over it, we put a bunch of tree boughs and stuff like that for our padding, and it was just a great time. Although I do remember while I was up there, I was carving a piece of wood and I ended up slicing my finger pretty bad. But it was just a great memory, great time. Kind of began my love for the outdoors. But what about you? Share a memory that you have of your dad or a father figure in your life. Okay, we're going to read some verses here. These are from Mark chapter 10, verse 43 and 44, and we're going to discuss what stands out to us. So here we go. But among you, it will be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first among you must be the slave of everyone else. So let's take a few moments and discuss what stands out to us in those verses. Next question is, what is a small decision that you made in your life that ultimately had a big impact? For me, when I was probably 18 years old, my plan was to hike the Appalachian Trail, 2,200 miles from Springer Mountain, Georgia to Katahdin, Maine. And so I was working on it, I was planning to do it. And probably about a month out or so, I wasn't fully ready for it. And I decided not to take the trip. And kind of look back on it. I wish I'd taken it in some ways, but had I taken the trip, I'm sure it would have radically directed or changed the direction of my life. I wouldn't have gone on tour with the band. I wouldn't have come back when I did. I wouldn't have met my wife. Probably wouldn't have ended up, doing the things that I did with the church and ultimately starting Thrive. So it was a small decision, seemed kind of big at the time, but it ended up shaping the course of my life. What about you? What's a small decision that you made that had a big impact on your life? Next question is to share about a time when you drifted in your life. For me, it was when I was on tour. I was on tour with a Christian band. We were playing Christian music and going to schools and churches and things like that. But through that time, I wasn't spending time in God's word. I wasn't spending time in prayer, listening for his voice, and my spiritual walk began to drift quite severely. Fortunately, through some interaction from people that I trusted, they were able to get my life back on track, help me to see kind of where I was drifting, and I got back. But I was drifting pretty heavily during that period of time. What about you? Maybe it's a recent time, maybe it's something in the past, but share about a time that in your life you drifted. Maybe not spiritually, maybe emotionally, maybe financially, maybe something else, but a time that you felt like your life was drifting. Next question is to share about a burden that God has put on your heart and something that you can do about that. Maybe it's a burden that you see in the church, maybe it's in your community, something that you feel that you see very clearly, and maybe God has called you to do something about. What is that burden? What does it look like? And what has God called you to do? Well, thank you so much for joining us this week for our Thrive group. We're going to close in prayer. If you have anything that needs prayer for, make sure you share that with the group. Then we're going to pray together for each other. And I would encourage each person to pray. You don't have to say anything long, a few words even. And then when you're done, the next person will go, and then the group leader will close it up. So thank you so much for joining us this week. Let's close in prayer.